Okay, it's time to trim around this front post, and I'll show you how I'm doing it. I take, this will be up here halfway flat. Lay your board up there, get the end straight. Take your square, put it up against your post, like so. So I can get there with a light on it. And mark your line on both sides of the post. Do that on both ends. Move it back out of the way, and then just measure your gap, which is about 3 1/8. Then you measure from the back side, because this is the part you're going to leave, about 3 1/8. That gives you your piece that you're going to cut away, and that's going to go around the post. You want to cut these a little bit to the plus. You know, you want them big, because this board's going to shrink, especially with this little end. If you make it really tight and you tap it in there, when it shrinks, it's just going to break this end off. So it's all going to get trimmed out anyway. If there's a 1/4 inch gap around it, it doesn't matter. You'll never see it, and that gives it plenty of room to move once it dries out. Maybe this won't be too shaky. Little snug, so all I have to do is trim the inside on both sides, and that's it. This one is done. Okay, I'm pretty much done with it. I still got this one board up against the bottom log. I need to trim it. I'll have to kind of do some scribing and I guess get a jigsaw after it and cut it so it'll fit fairly close. But I don't want to get it tied down. I still have to chink all that. Over here, I do have one in place here, but I still have to cut the door out. And I've got to get my threshold height figured out before I do that. So that's going to be my next steps. Trying to decide to use a 6'8" door or an 8-foot tall door. It's so tall right here that I'm thinking about using an 8-foot tall door. I mean, it's 17 feet to the peak up there. I don't know. I'm going to frame it out with some 2x4s and look at it and see what it looks like. But anyway, front porch, other than handrails and just a little bit of trim work, front porch is done. Now I can cut a hole in here and store materials up here and get ready to start working on the floor. I'm going to try to take this strap and wrap a strap around this 4x12 and use the winch on the buggy to pull it out. I'm not sure if it's going to work or not. May end up pulling the whole stack apart and have to move it all anyway, but we'll see what happens. Tell you what, let's just see if we can. I've got it hooked onto the hook on the front of the buggy. Let's see if we can back up. See what it does. Well, that wasn't too bad. It's a short one, but between that and these other ones that are sticking out, I can get enough here for my door buck. cutting the door bucks out of this 4x12, it's not long enough to do all 3 sides. So I'm going to cut the 2 uprights, one on each side, and then I'll go drag another piece out and cut the one for the top. The saw will not cut all the way through it. I know you're thinking, why is he cutting that right on top of his porch? But it can't go all the way through, so I'm not going to hurt anything. Just got to flip it over and cut from the other side and do one more. Okay, I've got this little planer here. Now this is a light duty planer. It's not made for, I mean, it'll work on this bigger stuff. It's called a 12-inch planer, but you can't put a lot of weight on it. You really need a big heavy in-feed and out-feed table. And even with that, it's not going to want to feed it very well. But it's going to have to serve its purpose for now. All my woodworking equipment is still packed away back in Texas, so I don't have a big planer here, so I'm going to make this little one work. I need to take these 4x12s and run them through there to at least get it fairly smooth. I don't want them being real rough, so I'm going to try to run them through there. Hopefully it'll work. I'll push them through, get them started, and I'm going to hop down and catch it on the outfeed side and try to get it on through. And it may not work, but I'm going to give it a shot and see what happens anyway. Okay, I've got my door bucks. Oh, they're roughed out. They're long. They're actually too wide. I just ran them through this little bitty planer just to clean up the surfaces a little bit. That way, when I get ready to do all the finish work in the house, there's not near as much rough surface to get rid of. It's easier to run over this part with a sander and slick it up before everything gets stained and sealed and all that. I've got 3 sides cleaned up. I'm going to lay them down and cut these down to a 4x10. I'll just run the skill saw down it. They're 12 inches, about 12 1/4 right now. They're too wide. So I'll cut them down to 10 inches and then we'll get the hole cut in the door, or for the door, and start getting these things put in. That way it'll hold up the wall and I'll have a nice big hole to go in and out of and carry my flooring and all the rest of the stuff that's got to go in there. So that's the next step, is to get the hole cut out and to get these installed.